excited about this last class because we're going to learn a few additional skills and poses, but we're also going to build upon some of the exercises and movements that we learned in the last 3 classes. So we're going to begin with a warm-up that is going to open our hips and create some thoracic rotation. So start in a tall kneeling position. Bring your hands to the floor and you're going to take one leg out to the side so that your heel is in line with your knee. And if you remember, this is very similar to our warrior 2 position. You want to make sure that the knee is not collapsing inward. And we're going to take the hand of the bent knee, the knee that's down on the floor, right in front of it. And then we're going to take the opposite arm and reach up towards the ceiling and then thread the needle through. We're going to do this about 8 times. And 3 more. And 2. And 1. And then we're going to switch sides. Again, making sure that your heel is aligned with the knee and that your knee is not collapsing inward. Take the hand down, reach up towards the sky, and thread the needle. This is one of my favorites to warm up. I always start with some sort of thoracic rotation. And here I'm getting my hips involved as well. And then come on up. We're going to come back onto our hands and knees. This time we're going to take one leg out so that your toes are pointing forward. Again, your foot is in line with your knee. And you're going to rock back and forward. The bent knee foot can be dorsiflexed or plantar flexed. So right now I have my toes curled under, which is dorsiflexed. And plantar flex would be coming down to the top of my foot. And you want to keep your gaze forward because if you drop the head, it tends to leave more rounding in the upper back. And again, you can have your blocks here. If you find that you are rounding in the upper back, maybe come up on a little bit of height. Same thing as we take the foot forward. If you aren't able to rock back and forth without rounding the back, then you can grab your blocks. This is great for knee mobility, hip mobility, ankle mobility. And then we're going to switch sides. Just doing 8 to 10 on each side. And then we're going to take the foot forward. And if you want to get more into your hamstring, you can always walk that foot forward a little bit more and then rock back onto your heel. But for now, I'm just gonna keep the foot or the leg bent. There's so many different variations that you can do when you're rocking, such as this, and we'll get more into that into level 2. In this segment, we're going to focus on Cobra Pose or Bhujangasana, which we learned a couple classes ago, as well as Urdhva Mukha Svanasana or Upward Facing Dog. These poses are very similar in that they strengthen the back line of the body. They are a little bit different in the sense that in Cobra Pose, you're bending your elbows and you're keeping your legs grounded. While in Upward Facing Dog, your arms are straight and your legs are lifting. So let's review Cobra Pose by coming onto your belly. Bring your thumbs in line with your lower ribs. Roll the shoulders up and back. Hug the elbows in. Draw the tailbone forward. And then lift up. Draw your hands isometrically back towards your waist as you lift your sternum. And then release. And rest. And then come back. Roll the shoulders up and back. Draw the tailbone forward. And lift up. Lifting the sternum, pulling the outer shoulders back, and keeping the back of the neck long. And release, and rest. And then come back up. And now we're going to move into Upward Facing Dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. I'm going to start by showing you how to do this with 2 blocks. You're going to bring your hands to the blocks and come into kind of a half push-up. So you're dropping your hips down. You're not letting your belly sag, but you're dropping your hips down as in a half push-up. And you are spreading the backs of your thighs from the inside out. So it's an internal rotation, and that allows you to draw the tailbone forward. And then from here, you're going to lift your knees and make sure that your shoulders are over your wrists. From here, you can draw the outer shoulders back, press into your hands as you lift your sternum up. And release. And the blocks make it a little bit easier as you're learning this pose. And then without the blocks, same thing. You're going to drop the hips, come into that half push-up, and then lift the chest, lift the legs. So your legs are lifting, your hips are descending, and you want to make sure that your shoulders are over your wrists and pulling the outer shoulders back. And then release the knees. And come into child's pose. In this segment, we're going to focus on banded rows, which we did a couple of classes ago, but we did them seated, and now we're going to do them standing up. We're going to take the hinge a little further and add resistance and do banded deadlifts. And then to continue to increase our upper body strength, we're going to go to the stool and we're going to do push-ups. So start with your band folded in half. And you will step on your band so that your feet are about hip distance apart, and you're going to keep your hands at the sides of your legs. So you don't want them coming forward in either exercise you do. You want to keep them right at the sides of your legs. Maintain a proud chest and draw your elbows back towards your waist, keeping your core braced. Squeeze the shoulder blades. I'm going to do 3 more. 2 and 1. Now we're going to keep that same stance. We're going to have our shoulders higher than our hips and our hips higher than our knees. Keep your shins pretty much perpendicular to the floor or vertical. And then you're going to stand up, keeping the arms straight. And then come up, squeeze the glutes. You're pushing your hips back, keeping a proud chest. Let's do 3 more. 3, 2, and 1. Come out of the band. Rest for a second, catch your breath, and then we're going to move on to push-ups. We've been doing about 5. We're going to do 8 this time. And I suggest, as you are working to build up your strength, doing 3 sets of 8 to 10 push-ups at a certain height. And once you can do them with a significant amount of ease, then begin to lower your surface a couple of inches. So again, coming into that plank on your hands and lowering down mid-chest. Squeeze the glutes. Make those little jet wings with your arms. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. And come up. And we're going to do that sequence, that circuit 2 more times. So catch your breath and grab your band. So again, folding it into half, stepping on the band, keeping that proud chest, bend the knees, brace the core, and row your elbows back towards your waist. Avoid rounding in the upper back, squeeze the shoulder blades, and keep your collarbones broad. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then go straight into your deadlifts. Hips go back. And again, if you want to make this exercise, it's too challenging with the band you're using, use a thinner band with less resistance. And I've lost count, so let's do 3 more. That's 1, 2, and 3. And come out. And then we'll go into push-ups. In just a second, I can catch my breath. Whew. All right, 8 push-ups. Press back through your heels, squeeze the glutes, take your inner elbows forward, and make those little jet wings. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. And 4, into benji, this is a great stretch just to stretch the backs of the legs and the upper back. Great place to rest for a moment. And come on up. And redo one more round. All right. Proud chest. And row the elbows back. I find that this is a great way to work my core because you need to keep the core stable in order for you to work your arms. If you lose your core, then you're going to start to feel it in your low back. Good, and then come straight into your deadlifts. Hips go back. You should feel this throughout your posterior body, your hamstrings, your glutes, certainly your lats. I think that was I am the worst counter. All right, last round of push-ups. All right. Four more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And stretch. And get a drink of water, and we will return to do this segment. We're going to focus on 2 key standing poses. Utthita Trikonasana, our triangle pose, and Prasarita Padottanasana, our wide-angled forward fold. Begin in mountain pose, and step your feet wide apart. For Utthita Trikonasana, our triangle pose, you're going to want your block behind the muscle of your calf. Rotate your left leg out 90 degrees and turn your back toes in slightly. Here you will have, just as in Warrior Two, a heel to arch alignment. And just like Warrior Two, your hips usually want to go in the direction of your leg, so turn your belly towards the front of the room. Extend your torso, reach toward the left leg, and then release your hand to the block. If you find that you're leaning forward, stack your blocks up a little higher. Use your second block underneath. And then rotate your belly towards the ceiling, and you're going to keep your hands on your hips for this first pose. We'll take the top arm up the second round. Roll your thighs away from each other and draw your shoulder blades down your back as you take your sternum forward. Press into your feet and come up. Turn your feet forward so that the outer edges of your feet are parallel to the outer edges of your mat. You can even be a little pigeon-toed. Press into the outer edges of your feet and the ball mounds of your big toes. Take your hands to your hips. Roll your shoulders up and back Hug the elbows in, and we're going to come into a wide angle forward fold. And hinge at the hips and bring your hands underneath your shoulders. If you find that you're rounding in the upper back, then feel free to take your blocks and elevate your hands. Look forward as this helps to draw the dorsal spine into the body, that area in between the shoulder blades. And then bring your hands to your hips, press into your feet, and inhale, come up. Second side, far triangle pose. So rotate your right leg out 90 degrees. Turn your back toes in slightly. Turn your belly forward. And put your block behind your left calf muscle. Extend your torso. Get length through the side body, and then release your hand to the block. Turn your navel towards the ceiling and bring your hand to your hip. Continue to roll your thighs away from each other and draw your shoulder blades down your back. Press into your feet and inhale, come up. Turn your feet forward. So we're going to do that on each side once again, adding the top arm. So get your blocks in the right place and rotate your left leg out 90 degrees. Extend your torso. Bring your hand to your block. Continue to turn your navel towards the ceiling. And then take the top arm, extend it towards the horizon, and then draw the arm bone into the shoulder socket and take the top arm up. So there's a straight line from your top wrist to your bottom wrist. And then take your gaze towards your top hand. Press into your feet. And inhale, come up. So we're going to come into our wide angled forward fold once again. We're going to add a rotation this time. So again, parallel your feet. Press into the outer edges of your feet, the ball mounds of your big toes. Take your hands to your hips, roll the shoulders up and back, hug the elbows in. Lift your sternum and hinge at the hips and fold. From here, you're going to keep your belly button pointing down because you want the twist or the rotation to come from the thoracic spine. So bring one hand in front of your face, and the tendency is you take the arm up, you're going to shift the hips. Keep your hips as stable as possible, belly button pointing down, and then take the opposite arm up towards the ceiling. Keep drawing the shoulder blades down the back. And release. And then second side, place the hand under the face, belly button pointing down, and then extend the arm up. This is definitely my more challenging side, so I really have to work on keeping the hips stable and my shoulders away from my ears. And release. Bring your hands to your hips, press into your feet, and inhale, come up. Second side for our triangle pose. So rotate your right leg out 90 degrees. Turn your back toes in slightly. Turn your belly towards the front of the room. Extend your torso. And then bring your hand to your block. And rotate your belly. Take the top arm to the horizon, draw the shoulder blade, or draw the arm bone into the shoulder socket, or pack your shoulder, and then take the arm up. Continue to press into the outer edge of the left foot and the tripod of the right as you rotate your thighs away from each other, or roll your thighs away from each other. And inhale, come up, turn your feet forward, and step your feet together, coming back into mountain pose. Begin in Dandasana, our staff pose. Draw the soles of your feet together. And if this is uncomfortable, you find that your knees are up here or you're rounding in your lower back, I encourage you to sit upon some height. A few classes ago, we came into Baddha Konasana with a strap and we maintained an upright spine. Here I'd like to give you the option to begin to fold forward if this is accessible. If you start to round your upper back as you're coming forward, then I want you to stay upright. Or as you're coming forward, maybe like right back here, you start to round, this is where you will stay. As you come forward, begin to think about lengthening from the inner groins to the inner knees and maintain the broadness in your chest. Another thing that I often see is that the chin goes way forward. Draw the chin back and imagine you have a grapefruit between your chin and your chest. You're holding a grapefruit right here. And then just soften into the pose. And come on up. Gently draw your knees together and come back into Dandasana. Now I want you to separate your legs into a V. And your knees, you look at your knees should be pointing straight up towards the ceiling, as well as your toes. We're coming into a variation of Upavishta Konasana, which is a wide angle forward fold. This pose used to be my nemesis pose. And one of the things that I was very consistent in practicing this pose for one. And I also found that just sitting like this while watching TV for 5-10 minutes really helped to open my hips and undo many years of running. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring our hands to our thighs and maintaining that broad chest. Again, just like in Baddha Konasana, we don't want to come forward with that rounded spine. We're going to bring our hands to our thighs and then begin to fold forward as we slide our hands down our legs. And I like to do this about 10 times. And you may want to sit on higher height as you're doing this. Maybe do about 10 at a higher height, sitting on, maybe stacking a couple blocks on top of each other. And then slowly lower the height and then do another 10. And I've already lost count, so I'll do about 3 more. And that should get us to about 10. And then very draw, bend the knees, and then draw the feet together and come into Dandasana. Chatushpadasana, or a bridge variation. This pose is very similar in appearance to our glute bridge that we learned in our first class. And similarly to our glute bridge, we are in this pose strengthening the hamstrings and the glutes, but we are also arching the back now. We are creating a back bend. We are opening up the chest as in our other yoga back bends. So to come into the pose, you're going to come onto your back and bend your knees. You want the outer edges of your feet to be parallel to your mat and about hip distance apart. I like to be able to brush the backs of my heels with my fingertips. And just like your bridge, you're going to lift your hips up. Now, here you're going to roll one shoulder under and then the other, and then clasp your heels. And then lift your chest towards your chin. And continue to press into your feet to lift the hips and keep drawing your chest, your sternum towards your chin. Now, if you have trouble clasping your heels, you can take a strap around your ankle. And same thing here, press into your feet, lift your hips, roll one shoulder under and then the other, and draw your chest towards your chin. The only weight should be on your feet and your upper shoulders. There should be no pressure, no weight on your neck. And release. We're going to do one more. Press into your feet, lift the hips, roll one shoulder under and then the other, and then draw your sternum towards your chin. And then slowly come down. And draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a hug. And then take your arms out at a T and drop your knees to one side and take your gaze to the other. And then go to the other side. And back to center. Now I'm going to turn off the lights to come into Shavasana. And again, set yourself up with any props that you may need to make your Shavasana more comfortable. Something under your knees, a blanket if you're cold. And definitely try to stay here at least 5 minutes.